Hello, today I'm going to do a project about pilgrimages and what pilgrim I would want to go on. The pilgrimage I chose was the Kumano Kodo walking trail. It's a very beautiful trail. It's in the mountains of Wakayama, Japan. It gives a more authentic experience of Japan. So you're really experiencing it because it's kind of out of the way in the mountains, away from the big cities like Tokyo, and not very far away. So not a lot of people will want to go out of their way to get to this spot. So you experience like the full nature of Japan. It's about a 70-kilometer hike over a few days, about 3 to 4, and this leads to a very important Kumano Hangu Tashiya shrine, which is what you see in the picture provided. That is basically the shrine that you're going to get to at the end of the trail after the few days are done. So why did I choose this pilgrimage? It's because of one, I've always wanted to go to Japan because Japan is just a very beautiful place. It's got beautiful nature. And also the hike looked very beautiful. When you look at pictures of the hike and people gone on it, videos, you just see a bunch of just beautiful trees, flowers, water, waterfalls. Everything is just very beautiful there. And it's something that just you it's a different thing when you see it in person than when you see it on a picture. And I would want to experience it in person. Also, you could visit many hot springs as well. So hot springs are very nice. I've actually been to a few up in Utah, and they're very relaxing and warm, and it's a really pleasant experience. And I would just love to go to another hot springs as well. Historical background: the Kumano Kodo is known for the home place of the tale of Japan's birth as a nation. So there's a long story of how Japan became a nation, and Kumano Kodo was actually the centerpiece of it. Um, so according to BBC Travel, the Kumano Kodo is the birthplace of the country's spirituality. So it's basically spirits, everything is there, and it's just a very pleasant area to be. Also, Shinto deities like trees and waterfalls. There are many ancient trees and beautiful waterfalls there that you see and can experience, and those are to believe to be Buddhist entities. So when you're on that trail and you see those beautiful trees, those old historic trees and those waterfalls, you're actually looking at Buddhist entities. Many religious events happen on this trail or during a set period of time. One famous one is on February 6th, the fire festival Oto Mastori is staged, where everyone basically wears white and eats white, because white to them is basically a symbolization of purity. So kind of like purifying themselves. And as they walk, they light a candle from a sacred fire that when you get to the shrine gate, it erupts. And that's kind of like the symbolize of their hopes going into heaven. So that's a very huge festival and event that happens. Another one is on July 14th. The Nachi Fire Festival is held. And this is where they carry about 12 shrines. They're about 6 meters big. So they're big, but they're not as big. And each one is meant to represent a deity. So they carry it from the main shrine all the way to the fall's base. And it's a very big skeptical, and you could see it here in the picture that I provided of all the people gathered around the shrine and going in unison and walking towards one goal as a group. So why would you visit? Many people visit for the religious festivals, like I just talked about. They're the two I just mentioned. There are many more, but also you could experience Japan's spiritual landscape and cultural landscape. When you're walking on this trail, you're in the nature, you're not in the big city. You're really taking in Japan, and that's the beauty of it. Not only that, this trail is also one of two UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So there's only two of them in the world. And if you complete it, it's very prestigious because upon completing, you're actually awarded with a badge called the Dual Pilgrim. And if you complete both, then it's renowned. And you could see the dual pilgrim badge on the bottom right. You have the two one looks like a bird, and then the other one it looks like a fan. Um, and if you want to visit, you could visit alone, you could visit with a friend, you could visit with family, you could visit with anyone. This is a very friendly trail. Anyone could really go. If I were to go, I would want to go alone personally, because then I could experience and go as slow or as fast as I want to get to certain sites where I could really experience and take in all the beauty. How to get there? So there are flights. You first got to get into Japan, and coming from the United States, uh, the closest plane that could take me straight to Tokyo would be LA. Depending on where you live in the United States or wherever you live in the world, it will be different. But for me, it'd be LA to Tokyo. And then once you get to Tokyo, they have trains that immediately lead into where you need to go. So you can immediately hit a train to Wakayama, which is basically the site where the trail is at. And once you're there, you could find a hotel, or better, in advance, you book the hotel so you're not scrambling against other tourists and people who need a room to stay the night. From the hotel, you could either walk or take a train. Walking is perfectly fine because everything is so close proximity. Um, and while you're on the hike, since this hike does take a couple days, uh, there are some small towns that do take in visitors and like house people. So when you are on the trail, you would stop at the Kumano Hagu Tashiya. That's a small town, and the Chikatatsu Uji. Those are two of the main popular small towns that most people visit in order to stay a night. Items to bring. It's gonna be less than a week trip, so you wouldn't really need to bring anything too big. So it'd be more of like a backpack worth of stuff. So just like some change of clothes, some cash, your phone, map, whatever. Mostly what you get is they will give you once you get there, because they will give you a map of where to hike and how to hike so you don't get lost. So it's basically like needed for a light vacation of just a little bit of clothes, your phone maybe, and some cash just so you could pay for the hotels as you're walking, and food if you need some along the way. Best time to go is basically any year round. Kumano Kodo is very, very open year round. It's got great weather all the time. In the winter, since the mountains aren't high, like really tall, and they're not super low, you can get a little bit of snow in there. But on the plus side, there are going to be fewer crowds of people due to the cold and the snow, because not many people would want to go in the snow. In the spring and fall is probably when it's going to be its busiest, because that's when it has the best weather. It's not going to be cold, it's not going to be hot, but you're also going to encounter lots of groups of crowds because this is a very popular trail that people go on. But the plus side of that is that if you do go alone, like how I would, you could find a group of people, other tourists, and you could experience that with them as well and hang out with them. Summer is also a great time, but it does get hot and humid. So if you do not like doing trails in heat, or if humidity is a problem, then summer would not be ideal. Another thing is June is rainy season. So if you're going in June, you gotta plan what to wear, because you may get a little bit of rain. It's not gonna rain every day, but it may rain once or twice. So plan accordingly for that. How should you plan? So the hike in total takes like from 2 days to a week, depending on what trail you take, because there are many different trails that lead you to the shrine that you're trying to get to. Most of them are around 70 kilometers or 43 miles, and those take around like 2 to 5 days, depending on how fast you go, how many stops you take to like enjoy the beauty of it. The longest one they have is around 170 kilometers or 105 miles. and that one is your week-long one. So that one you're getting a lot of stops, you're going longer distances. So make sure you plan according on what trail, because if you can't walk that much, then obviously you'd want to do one of the shorter ones, but you would still take in all the beauty and you'd still get all the experiences as if you were going to take the longer route of 170 kilometers. The cost of the trip, it's going to be fairly expensive just due to the plane ticket to Japan. Since I'm coming out of the United States, the plane ticket to Japan is $1,500 to about $2,000. That's US dollars. If you're closer to Japan, like if you're in Europe or Africa, then it may be a little cheaper from there. Another big thing is to make sure you withdraw cash, because cards, most places you're going to do not accept cards because they're very local, and it's not really industrialized like the big cities where you could use a card. So make sure you talk with your bank and your bank approves that you can actually use your card in Japan to withdraw cash. Most small towns, like the two small towns I previously stated, they charge around $60 for a night, and most of them, almost all of them do include, after looking it up, do include food. So you would get breakfast, you would get dinner. If you need it, you would get lunch if you need it, depending on what times you walk in and check in. So the whole trip of just walking would take, depending on how many days, if you do the week one, then obviously it'll cost more, but on average, you do around 3 days of hiking. So it's around $240, adding on to the around $2,000 ticket to get to Japan. You're looking at a pretty expensive trip, but once you're in Japan, it's not going to be expensive at all. Worries for the trip: after researching and reading all about the pilgrimage, all my worries really went away, because a lot of people said, and a lot of it said, it's very friendly. It welcomes everybody, and it's very, very nice and just beautiful experience. So most of my worries just kind of went away, but one of them was the language barrier. I'm coming from the United States. I'm going to be speaking English, and I don't know any Japan. So if I do have to, like, let's say, try to find a hotel, then it's going to be kind of hard because I don't speak Japanese. Another one would be getting lost. All they do provide you with maps. You could still get lost. Like, let's just say you see a cool little lake on the side, and you like veer off the path a little bit. That could be it, but that could be easily avoided with either if you go with a group, or if you just have a map. They do give you maps if you ask for them, and the locals are very, very helpful. Upon research, they said they're very friendly, and you can just ask them for directions. That's when the language barrier does kick in. It may be a little hard, but with a little bit of persistence, the trip will be very fun, and there should be no problems at all. All the works cited is right here. All the information I got and the pictures that I used came from these sites. I did use a quote, and I gave the in-text citation in the presentation. There was that. Pictures, information could all be right here. Thank you.